Okay, so your dog just died. You have tens of millions in your bank account, and as a very wealthy individual, you do not accept the word forever. When a business deal goes bad, you buy your way out. When a luxury asset depreciates, you replace it. Therefore, when your absolute best friend stops breathing, you do not plan a funeral. You make a phone call to a biotechnology company in Texas, and you ask them how much it costs to bring your dog back to life. You have the capital. You are ready to pay whatever the invoice demands. But there is a very strange reality waiting for you at the end of this transaction. Buying a biological replica of your pet is an industrial nightmare. It requires a hidden economy of surrogate animals, a massive failure rate, and the uncomfortable realization that you did not actually buy what you thought you bought. Like any premium medical service, defeating mortality starts with a price list, and the industry uses your grief as a ticking clock. If your dog is nearing the end of its life, or has just passed away within the last 5 days, you need to secure the biological material immediately. Your cheapest, most desperate option is express tissue banking. This costs $500. A local veterinarian takes a small skin biopsy from your dog's abdomen or inner thigh, packs the flesh on ice, and overnights it to a laboratory where it is frozen. But freezing raw tissue is only a temporary emergency measure. If you actually want to keep the genetic material viable for the future, you must upgrade to full genetic preservation. This service costs $1,600 upfront, plus a $150 annual storage fee. The laboratory takes your dog's tissue, cultures the cells, multiplies them into the millions, and cryopreserves them in vats of liquid nitrogen. Your dog is now biologically paused. But you do not want frozen cells sitting in a Texas warehouse. You want your dog walking around your living room, which means you need the complete cloning package. If you wanted to clone a prized horse, the invoice would be $85,000. Since you are cloning a dog or a cat, the final price is exactly $50,000. The biotechnology company requires this to be paid in 2 equal installments. You wire $25,000 to start the process, and another $25,000 when you finally take delivery of your animal. You sign the legal contracts, you pay the invoice, and you are placed on a wait list that currently spans 5 to 7 months. You walk away from this deal thinking you just bought a resurrection. You assume the $50,000 guarantees your best friend is coming back, but here's the catch. You completely misunderstand what you just purchased. You did not buy your dog. You bought a genetic twin of your dog, forced into existence at a later date. To understand why this is a terrible investment, you have to separate biology from biography. The laboratory can copy the exact sequence of DNA. They can guarantee the new puppy will have the same bone structure, the same risk for genetic diseases, and the same fur color. But they cannot copy the memory of the last 10 years. Therefore, this new dog will not know its name. It will not know where the kitchen is. It will not recognize your smell. The temperament of a dog is shaped by its environment, its mother, its littermates, and the exact timing of its socialization. You just spent $50,000 on a puppy that you still have to potty train from scratch. Celebrities do this constantly, selling the illusion to the public. In 2023, former football quarterback Tom Brady lost his pit bull mix, Lua. Because he was an investor in a biological sciences company, he used a blood sample to clone her. By 2025, he publicly introduced his new cloned puppy, Junie, calling it a second chance. Singer Barbra Streisand did the exact same thing with her 14-year-old dog Samantha, paying to generate 2 identical clones named Miss Violet and Miss Scarlet. Streisand later admitted to journalists that despite sharing the exact same DNA, the 2 clones had completely different personalities. They treat the procedure like a magical reset button. But the reality is far more industrial. The clone does not just magically appear in a sterile petri dish, it has to be manufactured, and that manufacturing requires raw materials that the glossy sales brochures rarely highlight. The dark side of the cloning industry is that to give you back your one dead dog, an entire network of living dogs must be utilized. The scientific process is called somatic cell nuclear transfer. The laboratory takes an unfertilized egg cell from a female donor dog and extracts its nucleus. They replace that missing nucleus with the frozen DNA cell from your dead dog. They use a spark of electricity to trick the egg into dividing, essentially creating a synthetic embryo. But an embryo cannot grow in a glass tube. It requires a warm womb. This created a massive logistical problem. The laboratory needs surrogate mothers. When scientists in South Korea successfully created the world's first cloned dog in 2005, an Afghan hound named Snuppy, The scale of the operation was staggering. They created over 1,000 embryos. To incubate them, they used 123 female dogs as surrogate mothers. Out of all those implanted embryos, only 3 pregnancies resulted, and only 1 single cloned dog survived to adulthood. Decades later, the process is significantly more efficient, but the fundamental mechanics have not changed. The industry still relies on a constant supply of purpose-bred female dogs kept in isolated, sterile facilities. These dogs are injected with hormones to artificially synchronize their reproductive cycles. They are surgically implanted with the cloned embryos. If the pregnancy takes, they carry the clone to term. Often, because cloned puppies can be unusually large or have developmental abnormalities, they are delivered via cesarean section, which means your $50,000 purchase is heavily subsidized by the invisible suffering of surrogate animals. Miscarriages, failed implantations, and puppies born with severe physical deformities are a normal, undocumented part of the trial and error process required to hand you one healthy clone. You are trying to honor the legacy of your rescued best friend by funding an industry that effectively treats female dogs as biological incubators. You pay for life, but you finance an assembly line of surgical procedures on animals that will never see the inside of a loving home. Let us calculate exactly what you get at the end of this financial and ethical journey. You paid $500 for the initial biopsy. You paid $5,600 to culture the cells. You paid $150 to store them for a year. You paid $50,000 for the cloning procedure itself. Your total capital expenditure is $52,250. You wait nearly a year. Finally, the company calls you to pick up your animal. You walk into the facility expecting to feel the overwhelming relief of seeing your old best friend. Instead, you are handed a confused, untrained puppy that happens to look exactly like a ghost from your past. Your net return on investment is a biological illusion. The puppy bites your shoes, ignores your commands, and develops a completely different personality, because $50,000 cannot buy a resurrection. It just buys a very expensive new dog and the harsh realization that you cannot buy the exact same love twice.